Hello and welcome back to my channel, Designs by Dana. I'm Dana, and today I am doing a one-page layout using this close to my heart paper packet from my stash called Best Friends Forever. Now this is the sticker sheet, and while this looks like it's a brand new unused pack, do not be fooled. My family, our combined household between ourselves and our daughter that lives alone, but yet we kind of share households. We have 2 cats and 3 dogs. So we are an animal family, and I bought multiple packets of this paper because I knew that we would use it on many things. So like I said, while this looks new, I had many packets of this. So let me just kind of walk you through here. We've got, what I liked about this pack is it could be used for dogs and cats, which worked great for our family because we have multiples of both. So again, stickers and, titles, different things, icons for both dogs and cats. And then just quickly going through this paper here, you see this is a really fun sheet that's got lots of different dogs in different positions. The dog house, little Woof, you've got Bones, the dish, and everything. And the other side of this is basically the same concept, but in a cat themed design. So again, the dog and the cat fits perfectly for our house. You've got the product strip with the design zip strip on the opposite side. This one for some reason has already been cut off, but I don't know where that one escaped to. So that's a really fun pattern there. And then here we have a really nice neutral green. It could really be used for anything. And then a fun bright yellow, kind of a grid pattern paper. And then here, kind of going back to the dog and the cat theme, this one is a pink with the fish bone for kind of the cat theme. And then on this side, we have a blue two-tone with the dog bone. So a good, nice mix between the dog and the cat themes. So let me show you what I want to scrap today. And it's actually not a picture of a dog or a cat, but rather a picture of my daughter. So I'm going to turn this over because this is going to be a single page layout. So I wanted to show you, I originally printed this photo like this. And I print my photos on a Canon Selfie. So the paper has this kind of like a perforated tearaway piece. And so when I printed that, the text here at the bottom will get cut off. So as I tear this off, you can see that what I wanted in here for the journaling will be destroyed. So what this is, let me just kind of give you some background information. This is my daughter. She works for a doggy daycare, and this is the employee spotlight. So this is their Instagram post. This is her picture and the post on Instagram that talks about her employee spotlight and why she is deserving of the employee spotlight. So because the way I printed this and I didn't want to lose this text, what I did is I'm cropping this down so I'll have a 4x4 photo, and then I reprinted this part as a 3x4. So, I've already cut the top part off of here. This is that bottom piece, which I don't care about. And then I can trim this and I'll have a 3x4 that will be my journaling. So it'll almost be like 2 photos, but again, this is the journaling. So that's my vision. I haven't really thought about what the layout itself is going to look like, but probably something like this. So I'm thinking probably a rather simplistic page. I clearly want to bring in this doggy paper because this is a doggy daycare. So, and her shirt has got this black and yellow. So I really want to focus on the yellow. to highlight some of the yellow in the shirt. And then I don't want to use the pink, the fish bones, because that's really not applicable. But I do think that we want to use some of the dog bones just because it ties in. And if I do need a fourth color, I can also use some of this, or I can pull in any other color really from my stash, because the photo is so neutral that I can have a lot of versatility in my options. So if I decide I want to pull in another color, I can do that. I've got the versatility here that will allow me, but I think just sticking with this will be fine. So I'm going to get this out of the way, kind of come up with some ideas, and we'll see what we want to do as far as the layout. And we'll come back and start cutting paper down and getting something put together. Now I brought in my Versamat and my white cardstock for my base. And here is my photo and my little journaling piece. And I think I want them to position something like this on the layout. By doing that, I have some space here to add embellishments. And I think I want to put my title up here, and then I can add some additional embellishments in this area as well. So what I think I want to start by doing is focusing on this paper, because it has all the cute little dogs and puppies in the doghouse. So I'm thinking doing something pretty simple with this particular layout, and just starting by, you know, a strip of paper down the side of the sheet here, and kind of leaving it like that. Maybe add a zip strip to kind of border this off. And then I have this yellow piece, and what I'm thinking I want to do with this, even though it's not cardstock, and there's nothing wrong with that, I think I want to matte these pieces in this yellow, because that really makes that pop with the yellow in her sweatshirt, and of course against the black, it kind of really makes those pop. So I'm going to hold this yellow paper for matting my photos. So I'm going to set that aside. But what I want to do is add kind of a linear element here, and just really making this simple, and just bring some strips, I think, across here. So I definitely want to use this bone paper, kind of the two-tone, and I'm thinking maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe 4.5 inch strip coming across like that, maybe to about here. And I may dovetail that out, just make it like a big strip coming across. And then of course I have the green, so I'm thinking I could just layer a couple pieces across here, kind of like that. So I've got the blue and the green, and I'm thinking if I'm gonna do that and have my photo here, I may want 3 strips of paper coming across here, just for that element of the thirds. So looking at this, you know, paper and the color scheme, I've got the blue, the green, the yellow, and there's a lot of red in here. And I love that Close to My Heart has the zip strips, and I can go back and see, you know, what colors are in here. And then I went to my mix-ins, and I found 2 different colors of a candy apple red that I could include in this. And so I pulled both of them out just to kind of look at what I think they'll look like if I layered some red in here. And I don't want it to look too Christmassy, you know, with the green and red, keeping in mind that I'm going to have some yellow behind my photo here. So I thought I would like this one better, and I'm just going to kind of play around with both of those. And I do think I like this one better because it's not so much red. It brings in some of that white to balance out. So I think I'm going to go with this, and let's pull this one out. So I don't think I like that as much. I just think it's just too much red. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to matte with the yellow. we're going to cut some strips of these 3 colors just to kind of come across the page here, and then we'll have this strip coming down. So let's get that cut and see if we're liking the shape of that and see what that looks like. Okay, I've got all of my papers cut down, and you see I have this beautiful colorful zip strip that makes a great border between my pattern paper with a lot of the white and the white cardstock. Now I've got these nice horizontal strips that I've put in here, and I'm going to dovetail those out. And I'm showing you a real quick, easy way to do your dovetails is pinch that pattern paper together and then cut from your open corners to the folded section. It makes a really nice even dovetail. That technique works great when you're using a thin pattern paper. It doesn't work very well with a thicker cardstock because the cardstock doesn't pinch and fold together easily without making a real deep impression into your cardstock. So I've got my photos matted on that yellow pattern paper, and I think that makes them pop out really nicely. I'm bringing some more of that yellow ink in. I'm using lemonade ink with Close to My Heart, and I'm using my blending brush to blend out some of the ink so it kind of peeks out from my pattern papers into that white. Up here in the upper right is where I plan to put my title, so I want to have kind of a grounding space for the title. And then I want to balance that out by adding some more color down here in the lower right hand corner, and that will probably be used to ground some embellishments as well. So I've got some good balance of color in that on that page. I'm going to come back in and add some more to that upper right because I think that my title is going to extend a little bit further out. So I'm just going to use the leftover ink on my brush to extend that out just a little bit further. Now, as I stated, I made my photo mats a little bit bigger than normal because I'm going to add some doodle lines here. Normally, I will ink the edges of my papers. That's kind of a signature technique for me. But with this layout and the bright colors, I decided to go with something a little different today. So I'm going to do this to all of the papers that I have on the layout. And I want to show you here, notice how my wrist and my elbow are very straight. The only thing I'm doing is using my shoulder to pull that pen all the way down. So if you struggle with doing this or if you're intimidated, I want to show you how easy it can be. It does sometimes take a little practice, but just keep your wrist and your elbow straight. Use your shoulder to pull the pen all the way down. So I've got those done off camera, and I'm bringing in a stamp set from my stash, and this one's called Live, Laugh, and Woof. I have a lot of animal, particularly dog and cat stamp sets because we are a family of fur babies. We have 3 dogs and 2 cats amongst our combined households. So I'm using these dog stamps, and you saw that I seasoned that stamp on my arm just to make sure that it will hold the ink nicely for me. And I decided that I'm probably going to go ahead and stamp a few of these just so that I've got some variety. I'm not quite sure how many I want to use on the layout just yet. And now I can use my thin cuts to perfectly cut those out with a great border. And I'm going to use this tag as well because there's a stamp here that says World's Best Paw Parent. And I think that's going to be perfect for the layout as well. So now that I have all those cut out, I'm zooming in quite a bit for this coloring portion. So I'm bringing in some markers with Stampin' Up. I'm using the Stampin' Blends, and I've got my little color swatch on my scrap paper here. I'm using Crumb Cake, Pecan Pie, and Smokey Slate. So let me tell you a little bit about our 3 dogs as I color these in. So I'm doing one dog or one stamped image per dog that we have. So each one will represent one of our dogs. So this one is going to represent our Tucker boy. Tucker is the sweetest dog I have ever met in my life. And He is a rescue dog. My daughter worked for a veterinary clinic for a while, and they also had a boarder. And Tucker was boarded there for over 6 months. A family that came over from Puerto Rico brought him with them, and then the woman had a domestic violence situation, and she had to leave her husband with her kids and left Tucker at the clinic. And they hadn't heard from her in quite some time. So Jordan felt just horrible that he had been living in a kennel and started to bring him home a couple days a week just so he could play in our backyard, because we have a fenced-in yard, and he could get out and get some more exercise. And then she started to bring him home on the weekends, and it became more frequently, and we just fell in love with Tucker. So finally, the woman did give up her rights to Tucker, and we were able to officially adopt him. What we didn't know about Tucker at the time is because he was from Puerto Rico, he actually understands Spanish. So we had, the exterminator was here one day, and I was sharing the story of Tucker, and he asked me, and I said, well, I don't know, because I don't know Spanish. And so he gave Tucker some commands in Spanish, and sure enough, he would sit and follow Spanish commands. So that was a really interesting story about Tucker. Now, this dog that I'm coloring represents our little JoJo boy. And I say boy, but JoJo is actually geriatric. He's very old. He's almost 17. And he is a Dachshund Terrier mix. Tucker, by the way, is a Golden Retriever Border Collie mix. JoJo, he's almost 17, so he's very old. He is deaf. He's going blind. And the poor guy is now in doggy diapers. So he's slowly losing all of his senses, I guess. But we are trying to help him keep all of his dignity. And he's still very spunky in many ways. So he was rescued by my mom many years ago. And she got ill when she got cancer. And at the time, our dog that we had passed away. And so we really wanted a replacement, and she was not really wanting to continue to care for him. So we kind of took over that and adopted JoJo from my mom, and he became ours. So this last dog is our last rescue. This is Teddy. Teddy was out in a thunderstorm one day when Jordan was coming home from donating blood, actually. And she pulled off the highway, and there was Teddy alongside the highway in the middle of a thunderstorm. So she stopped, and he jumped right in her car. She took him to the shelter. He was not chipped. They could not find his owners, and she, of course, fell in love with him. And after the 5-day hold period, we ended up adopting a Teddy for her. And he has been a great dog for her, and he is a Australian Shepherd, so he's very smart. And so he's kind of our latest addition. Now, he got his name. His original name was intended to be Thunder because she found him in a thunderstorm, but she changed that to Teddy from the movie Ted, because he is her now Thunder Buddy. If you've ever seen that movie, Ted, there's some talk in the movie about being Thunder Buddies. So he is the Thunder Buddy and the latest addition to the zoo of animals, I guess you'd say. And I think if she had her way, we would have a farm full of dogs and cats and probably other animals as well. So as I finished these up, I thought, boy, it would be cute to add some liquid glass to their noses, because if you're around dogs, you know that their noses are always kind of wet and shiny. So I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glass to their noses, and then I'll just set those aside for just a little while to dry. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to focus on my title. Now, I wanted my title to say Employee Spotlight. So I brought in some of these foam alphabets, which I still have a ton of these in my stash. I really need to use them up. And again, I'm just showing you how I color that in with a black marker, because I wanted the the word employee to be black, and I'm thinking spotlight in the red stickers. So I'm visualizing, you know, my spacing and how long I think the word employee is going to be. And I thought, you know, I could fit it in that white space, but it would be very crunched in, and I don't want it to look crunched. So I'm going to start over here where it overlaps the photo and the pattern paper. And in the end, you're going to notice this. I really wished I would have raised it up a little bit higher, but I think I make it work. So I'm just going to start from left to right and spell out the word employee, and then we'll come back in and do the word spotlight. So while I put those down, I wanted to share with you this journaling spot that we have and what Jordan's employer wrote about her on Instagram for this employee spotlight. So she works for Pooch's Paradise, and they wrote, "The employee spotlight is on Jordan this week. Jordan has worked at Pooch's for over a year now and brings a wealth of knowledge of dog behavior within our daycare groups and our team. Jordan has a gift of helping our dogs who are having a difficult time due to whatever circumstances they came from to move forward and succeed. Jordan gives them the guardrails to succeed. Structure interweaved with patience is Jordan's secret sauce. We are so grateful to have them a part of the Pooch's family." So I thought that was a wonderful tribute that they wrote to her, and I definitely wanted to capture that for her scrapbook. So now you can see I've got my employee title down, and you can see what I mentioned here with the spacing and trying to get that above the pattern paper, because I really didn't want it overlapping. And I'm going to start the spotlight from the right to left because I wanted it to be off-centered. So again, using my ruler, trying to line that up, I had a little bit of a difficult time seeing this, so I had to stand up and try to get over the top of this and get it lined up. So I'm going to lay these down, and I'm putting them down extremely lightly so that I can adjust as needed once I move my ruler. And I'm glad that I did that because, as you'll see, once I move my ruler, they still looked a little bit cockeyed, which I'm kind of not sure why that is since I stood up and used the ruler, but I think I just didn't line them up exactly to the edge of the ruler. So I will be able to lift them up and adjust accordingly. So I'm really glad that I'm not really pushing those down into the paper. And I like how they are a little bit off-centered, and it gives that title a real nice kind of pop with the two colors. So here I'm going to adjust those just a little bit. I don't think it's perfect, but I'm happy with how it turns out. So yeah, just a little bit more adjustment, and then I'm going to push those into the paper. And now I can work on my embellishments. So I have that tag, and I wanted to go ahead and put some doodle lines around the tag just for consistency and kind of wrapping that tag together, because just the plain white didn't really do it for me. And I don't show it on camera, but I also brought in my blending brush and added a little bit more of that yellow to the center of the tag as well. And now I can cut off this excess paper, and before I add any extra embellishments, I want to bring that journaling pen back in and finish off the doodle lines around the edges. I was waiting to do that until I got the excess paper cut off so I can finish up that left-hand side. So that's going to make it just a little bit easier to get that edges right there wrapped up. And I wanted to do this part now before I add my embellishments because, as you guys know, I like to add a lot of dimension to my embellishments. If you've been following me for a while, you know I use a lot of foam tape as I put my embellishments on. So what I'm going to do now is just pull out some of the stickers from the sticker sheet, and I'm just putting them down very lightly as I audition them. So I knew for sure that I wanted that dog house over there on the left-hand side. And I'm going to play around with the rest of the embellishments, and you're going to see I audition these and move them around quite a bit and trying to get them exactly how I want them. And notice how that doghouse has those eyes kind of peeking out. I think it's supposed to be kind of cute with the eyes and the darkness of the doghouse, but for whatever reason they looked kind of creepy to me. So you'll see how I cover that up in the end, and I was really happy how that turned out. But for whatever reason, I really struggled with the embellishment on this one, and I usually don't have that problem with my embellishing and my clusters, but I'm going to fidget with this one quite a bit as I move things around, and that's okay. Sometimes you just really have to move it around and play with it until we get it exactly how I want it. So while I'm doing that, let me just give you a quick reminder that if you are liking my video today, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. So here I'm going to take that last dog and just pop it up on top of that doghouse, and it looks like he's just kind of sitting there in the doorway, and I really like how that turned out. So for a final touch, I'm using my stamp set again, and I'm using the dog prints to use as an embellishment here. Instead of bringing in any kind of dots or sequins, I'm just going to random stamp a couple of these dog prints or paw prints, and then we're going to cut off a little edge of that dog house, and that's going to wrap up the layout. So I'm going to show you a couple of close-ups and finish everything up.